If there is one thing I learned from watching gaming videos on YouTube for over 15 years, then it's probably the fact that not all viral games are created equal. While some titles like Skyrim or Minecraft manage to etch themselves into the annals of gaming history, becoming timeless classics and achieving record-breaking sales damn near every single year, others, however, quickly fizzle out after they had their moment in the spotlight, leaving us scratching our heads and wondering, whatever happened to that game? It's like they're here one day, turning the internet upside down, and then suddenly they're gone, replaced by the next big thing. I think we all had that one moment when you're scrolling through your Steam library, looking for something to play, only to stumble upon an old game and think, oh yeah, I used to play that all the time. So in the spirit of these games, I decided to make this video where I gather 4 forgotten viral titles from various genres and go through them while speculating on why they never lasted. It's high time I stopped yapping. Now, without further ado, let's begin. At first glance, PS5 Simulator might sound like one of those scam videos that pop up on YouTube and prey on children who want to play the latest and greatest PS5 exclusives on their iPad, but not really. It's actually a simulation game developed by Alex Grade. This title came out during the launch period of the new generation of consoles, and during that time PS5s weren't really available due to scalpers and poor supply volumes.
Camped out for PS5s and for Xboxes, some had even been waiting since Wednesday afternoon.
So gamers had to get creative, and therefore this game came into existence. When you open the itch.io page for it, you'll be greeted by the following description that reads, "Wait no more, your ultimate PS5 experience is here. Poor cable management, snacks on the floor, and try not to break your next-gen console in this non-AAA game." And below it you will find the download links. As for the price, you can actually decide how much you want to pay, so you can in theory pay $10 or $20, or just grab it for free like I did because I'm a broke boy. Now with the game extracted, I clicked on the exe file and was instantly plopped into the game, with no fancy menus or any loading screens, just this beautifully modeled house. I would have praised the developer for how it looks very detailed and full of life if it weren't for the fact that this house is just a store asset. In fact, most 3D models in this game were bought down to the PS5 model, but at least the developer was transparent about it, and he listed off everything he bought. Now back to the game. After being told to go open the door and grab our PS5, I did the most reasonable thing, which is to ignore the objective and start tossing objects around, like a laptop, a bag of chips, and an entire fridge. Didn't know this guy is a powerlifter. And after wasting 5 more minutes exploring the second floor, I finally decided to go downstairs and open the door to acquire my holy grail, but before I grabbed it, I noticed something that was bugging me, and that's how our house appears to be in the middle of this empty flat field, covered by a thick wall of fog, and once I noticed that, I knew I had to go outside and see what lies beyond the fog. So I did, and it crashed. Well, at least I tried, and now I'm stuck in this endless void. After resetting the game, I quickly went and grabbed the box for real this time. Now let's grab a knife and open it, and it's as beautiful as the real thing. I just need a power outlet and everything will be perfect. But where is it? I can't seem to find it. Is it here or here? Oh, it's right next to my beloved copy of NAC 3. After spending some time searching for where I can connect my outlet, I finally found this perfect spot behind the couch. 5 minutes later I ended up with this abomination. The developer didn't lie when he said this game features poor cable management. After watching this out of place boot screen and getting my hands on a controller that actually works, I can finally enjoy NAC 3, but my PlayStation 4 looking internet router had to stop working, so I had to rough it up with my wrench that plays the F2 engineer lines for some reason.
Don't worry, boys. The engineer is here.
Everything should work now. Let me grab a snack and it's already over. Well, that was quite the experience. It's clear as day that the popularity of this game wasn't going to last long, and once people finally got their hands on a PS5, this title was quickly forgotten. I wish I could tell you more about this game and how it was made, but the channel that documented its development was unfortunately deleted. Well, at least the developer is still active on Twitter, and he recently released this cool looking shoot 'em up that you guys are watching in the background. Now some closing remarks. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. This game was honestly the reason I decided to make this video in the first place. A couple of days ago I was on a Discord call with friends, reminiscing on old nostalgic games, but when I mentioned this game called Octodaddadliestcatch, none of them seemed to recall it, until I pulled up an image, and it still took them some time to recognize it. Back around 2014, this game was practically everywhere, with every Let's Play channel on the planet giving it a shot and getting millions of views. So 11-year-old me was dying to play it, and it ended up being the first game I bought when I got a PS Vita. I loved playing every second of it. So to celebrate its 10th year anniversary, I thought I should replay it again. I was initially going to dust off my PS Vita for this segment, but I completely forgot it stopped working years ago for some reason, so let's just settle with the Steam version. The first thing I noticed when I launched the game was this banger that was blasting in the background, and it instantly injected me with a heavy dose of nostalgia. I can stay here for hours, but I think we should start. I completely forgot about the wedding segment in the beginning, so replaying it was a pleasant experience. After the intro we get this cool tutorial that neatly explains the unique control scheme. A lot of people don't give this game enough credit, but the first Octodad back in 2010 was one of the first few games who did the whole convoluted controls shtick, years before many games like Getting Over It and I Am Bread. Did Octodad execute it perfectly? No, it didn't. It's very janky, but it still makes for an amusing experience, and this sequel made many improvements. After finishing the tutorial and making it to the hall, I proceeded to pull these sick dance moves with no care in the world. Then I went and grabbed my tuxedo and spent an embarrassing amount of time figuring out how to put the bow tie on. After assembling my drip, I made this stylish, flawless entrance. Then I gave my wife our wedding ring, and that was the tutorial. Flash forward several years later, and we see Octodad's life as a husband and a father, and we perform some family bonding activities like mowing the lawn, fixing a birdhouse, and grilling some burgers for the kids. I didn't think a lot about it as a child, but how the hell does he have human kids? I'm sorry man, but I think you should keep an eye on that French neighbor guy. Speaking of him, he tries to kill us and take custody of his illegitimate children, but we thankfully survive. The next level takes place in this supermarket and you need to grab some items. The first is a frozen pizza that you get by squeezing your way through a freezer. The second item is a box of cereal that you need to steal, Metal Gear Solid style. I was still caught, but it didn't matter. And last but not least, chocolate milk. I struggled to reach it at first, but with this off-brand Minecraft pickaxe that looks a little too similar to the actual thing, I managed to grab it. Before leaving, I heard there were some free sushi samples, so I went to have some, but the French guy ambushed me and killed me. This video is already bloated, so I think I should stop here. I can't get enough of this game and I'll definitely keep playing it after I finish taking footage. I really wanted to talk more about it and the first freeware game that came before it, but I didn't want this segment to be too long. I'm considering making a full-length documentary about this series, so guys, comment below if you're interested in seeing a video like that. Do you want to play as an underpaid surgeon, doing operations half-heartedly, with no regard for human life, while facing next to no repercussions for your actions beyond a slap on the wrist? Then this game is right for you. In Surgeon Simulator, you assume the role of Nigelberg, your average surgeon who ends up with a broken arm, which leads to him having to do everything with one hand, including surgeries. So apparently there are two versions of this game, the full release Steam version and the free prototype made in just 48 hours for a game jam. I decided to go with the prototype because it's arguably the most popular version and it doesn't take a lot of time to beat. Once you launch the exe file, you'll be greeted by this configuration tab that allows you to adjust basic things like the resolution, graphic quality, and the controls. Nothing out of the ordinary, except how in the input tab you can actually bind the key for some weird actions like jumping and firing. Obviously they don't work, but small oversights like these show how the devs didn't really have a lot of time to develop this game during that competition. After getting into the game, the first thing you will notice is that the lighting is drastically different from the full release. That went for a brighter, more cartoonish look, while this prototype has a dark, grim look that feels downright sinister. I mean, the new art direction isn't bad by any means, but I prefer the old look as it adds gravity to your actions, because at the end of the day, you're performing a life or death surgery. The game loop here is the same as always. You have a patient and you're often tasked with replacing a specific organ before they run out of blood. I usually ignore the objective and immediately torture the patient, but this time I decided to do something different for once and perform the operation properly. I picked my trusty hammer and shattered his rib cage with a single hit. I'm pretty sure this isn't how surgeries work, but he didn't lose a lot of blood, so that's a success in my book. I also noticed that there isn't as much organs to manage as the full release, so it was pretty easy. But I still fumbled the bag and dropped my electronic saw inside of his torso, and let's just say he didn't make it. Unlike Octodad, I don't really have that much of a connection with this game. In fact, I only played it like 2 years ago with a friend. While I enjoyed the first 2 hours, it quickly became stale, and I never picked it up again, so I can see why people quickly moved on from this title. While editing this segment, I actually found out that there's a sequel called Surgeon Simulator 2 that's nowhere near as popular as the first one, and from all the mixed reviews I saw, it's not doing well either. We as humans seem to have this strange affinity for massive battles. Maybe it's the thrill of the fight, or maybe the clash of egos, but sadly there aren't a lot of games on the market that scratch that itch. except for this game called Epic Battle Simulator. After some big creators picked this title and made videos on it, it quickly resonated with people and blew up, probably because of the endless combat scenarios and the potential for storytelling. I mean, something about seeing 10,000 foot soldiers fighting an army of dinosaurs just gives me an instant dopamine hit. So it was easy to assume that this game was going to sell well due to all the exposure, but it really didn't, with it having a humble 10k peak concurrent player count. Not a bad figure by any means, but disappointing in comparison to the videos that easily get millions of views. So I had to check this game and see why it never managed to capture any success, despite the internet fame. After starting the game, the first thing I did was to lower the graphics as much as possible and pray that my computer doesn't explode. I heard it's not that well optimized, so even with a NASA supercomputer, you should expect some stutters if you spawn a large amount of units. After tweaking the settings, I went and picked the sandbox mode. As for the first battle, I thought it would be cool if I made it a clash between sci-fi and fantasy, to decide which one is the superior fictional genre. I gave both sides 2,500 units to make things fair, and started the battle. After a brief loading screen, I was immediately weirded out by how all the unit animation look. Is it me, or do they look like NPCs from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet?
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
I don't know if it's my PC or the settings, but it was really distracting, especially when I go into third-person view. After spectating for a while, it seemed like the ogres weren't doing that well, and things were going slow, so I had to help them by giving them a little boost. So I dropped this nuke and wiped the entire map. Well, it says that ogres won, so congrats to the fantasy team. Now for the second battle. I wanted to go all out, so I spawned as much units as I could and ended up with 900k units on each side. This isn't going to end well, but you know what they say, life is all about taking risks. After waiting for what felt like an eternity, all units finally loaded in, and to my surprise the game didn't crash, but it still ran at literally 0 FPS, and after some time it just froze. Hope my PC didn't melt. The biggest complaint I have with this title is that it's fun to watch, but not so fun to play. I couldn't even go beyond the 2-hour mark without getting bored out of my mind. I tried the other mode called FPS Invasion, and it didn't feel great. This game is stuck in this weird limbo, where any videos about it or its sequel still get tons of views, but the game itself is damn near dead. I don't have a clear answer for why this title wasn't successful, but if I had to take a guess, then probably because it's just not that fun to play after some time, and how it demands you to pay $15 as well as have a high-end gaming PC. Unfortunately, after some time, Total War Attila came and filled the void Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator could not. Now before we wrap, I want to say that while popular games come and go, and what's hot today might be considered ancient in a week, we could never deny the mark these games left on our gaming memories, granting us hours of laughter and joy, and flooding our social media feeds. I know it's easy to mourn their fate, but instead let's cherish the experiences these games has enabled us. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Editing it was quite the undertaking. I know it's a lot to ask, but I would greatly appreciate it if you guys liked and subscribed. I plan on making more content like this, and if you're interested, I recently posted this bad ports and remasters iceberg that you can watch. Well, that's about it. Stay healthy everyone and keep gaming.